about the coach, man. We got to discuss Brian Daboll's job security. You understand? So here's the deal. I saw a little report, not even a report, you know. You listen to these beat reporters, they do their shows and they go on other people's platforms and they drop these jewels on you. And one of the jewels that was dropped by Ryan Dunleavy, I believe his name is, Ryan Dunleavy. I think he covers for the Associated Press. I get these motherfuckers mixed up, but he wanted to beat reporters for important people, okay? He was talking about how John Mara said that he regrets firing Pat Shurmur after Daniel Jones' first season. He regrets doing that because it set Daniel Jones back. Because when Daniel Jones was a rookie, when he was the anointed one, the chosen one, the one who fell from the sky to deliver us from evil, okay? Which he technically did for a season, but prior to that, when he was still all those good things before he turned into a pumpkin, okay? He was 24-12 in 12 games. He threw 24 touchdowns in 12 games. He's still, to this day, the only rookie to have 5 touchdowns and no interceptions and a victory. He's the only rookie to do that. So, he fired Shurmur after Daniel Jones looked so good under Pat Shurmur. Daniel Jones ain't been aggressive down the field since Pat Shurmur got fired. He brings in Joe Judge and Jason Garrett, and they turn him into a game manager. They stripped him. They castrated him of his deep throw oomph. You know that oomph you gotta have when you say, fuck it, I'm throwing this ball in between two people in the middle of the field. I'm going to hit this post route in between the safety. I'm going to throw this seam over the linebacker in between the safety. He lost that oomph to do that. Jason Garrett and Joe Judge wanted him to not make mistakes. They wanted him to be Alex Smith. They wanted him to be the opposite of what he was as a rookie. We will never know how great Daniel Jones could have been if they didn't fire Pat Shurmur. He was drafted because he was Pat Shurmur's guy. Pat Shurmur saw him and said, I can make that work. That's my guy for my system. Give me him. And it worked. It worked real good. And then he fired him. Right? And Daniel Jones ain't been right ever since. And if you remember, John Mara came out and said, we really did everything to screw this kid up. Offensive coordinator changes, Freddie Kitchens, Jason Garrett. Hell, Joe Judge was calling plays. I mean, it just got bad. And he never recovered. So, the reason why Brian Daboll, in my humble opinion, is going to have damn near infinite job security is because of Jackson Dart. I don't think John Mara is going to make the same mistake twice. I firmly believe that Brian Daboll is going to get at least 3 more years with the Giants to make Jackson Dart work. Jackson Dart is tied to Brian Daboll. That's his guy. The minute we fire Brian Daboll, Jackson Dart is out the door with him. Jackson Dart is either going to succeed or he's going to fail under Brian Daboll. There's no in between. Like, read it between the lines. Joe Shane didn't want Jackson Dart. John Mara didn't want Jackson Dart. The only one who wanted Jackson Dart was Brian Daboll and Shea Tierney. That's it. That's it. Everybody else wanted Shador. This ain't even... This is facts. This is Brian Daboll's guy. So, they're not gonna fire Brian Daboll this season. I don't care if we go 0-17. They're not gonna fire Daboll. They're not going to let Jackson Dart sit there, learn Brian Daboll's offense, get comfortable in the offense, and then fire him and bring in a whole new regime who might not even like the kid and ruin him from Jump Street like they did Daniel Jones. They're going to let Brian Daboll groom this kid in 25. Then maybe, depending on how great Russell Wilson is, let him start 26. Let him do what he does as a rookie. And then in 2027, that'll be make or break Daboll year. But I can't see a world where Brian Daboll isn't the coach of this team through 2027. I don't see it. They're going to let him get at least 2 seasons with Jackson Dart. Unless Jackson Dart is out here looking like Deshaun Kaiser, he's getting 3 seasons. He's getting 2 seasons with Jackson Dart. He's getting 3 more seasons with the Giants, and 2 of them are going to be with Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart pretty much secured Brian Daboll's job security. This upcoming season, I don't really think it matters what the record is. I think Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen are coming back. Truth be told, I just think Brian Daboll is going to benefit from the sins of previous coaches. It's the same way that Joe Schoen, like, if you really think about it, the only reason Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll are here is because of Joe Judge, Pat Shurmur, McAdoo. John Mara didn't want to fire another coach. But at the same time, nobody wanted to work under Joe Schoen. Because if you remember the reports was John Mara wanted to fire Brian Daboll. He wanted to keep Joe Schoen, but he wanted to fire Brian Daboll. But nobody wanted to come in and work for Joe Schoen because Joe Schoen's reputation around the league is in the toilet after Hard Knocks. So it was like, damn, I want to keep the general manager and I don't want the head coach. But in order for me to keep the head coach, I got to keep the general manager and vice versa. So he brought them both back. That's why when he does press conferences and they ask him, is the roster any better now than when he first took over? And John Mara says no. That's why. John Mara couldn't even justify bringing him back other than he couldn't fire him. He didn't want to fire him and start all over. He couldn't even justify it. So Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen are really reaping the rewards of John Mara's mistakes. Because at this point, John Mara doesn't want to make the same mistakes over again. Firing Pat Shurmur too early. Getting rid of Gettleman. Getting rid of Joe Judge. He didn't want to fire Joe Judge, but Joe Judge wanted too much power. All Joe Judge had to do was go in there and shut up and he would have kept his job. But Joe Judge wanted to fire Gettleman, be the G. And Joe Judge wanted too many requests. Joe Judge was like Nicky and Scar in Casino. Remember when Nicky started doing too much at Casino and he had to whack his ass? That was Joe Judge. He started doing too much. He should have stayed at food and beverage. But at the end of the day, Brian Daboll is safe for like another 2 years, at least, because of Jackson Dart. They're going to let him get his chance to make Jackson Dart a superstar. And if he can't do it, he's going to be fired and Dart's getting thrown out the trash with him. It's as simple as that. I ain't got nothing else to say, though. That's it. That's all. Hit all the like buttons and the sub buttons, the share buttons, all that YouTube stuff. You know what I'm saying? My name is FiskVicious, and I approve this message.